Blog Talk Radio.
We interrupt this broadcast for an emergency announcement. A massive earthquake. The flood has reached. All roads into and out of are closed. No medical services. Store shelves have been stripped.
What's coming? Are you ready? You are at the right place to hear the best ways to stay safe and weather the coming storm. Welcome to Power Preppers. Here is your host, Patricia Baker.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Power Preppers. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and my mission is to make getting prepared for any emergency easy and efficient. Get smart and get prepared. So please remember to also go to sign up for our newsletter at supernaturalgirls.com, and there you can get all the latest show information on both Power Preppers and Supernatural Girls Radio. And this Saturday night, we are going to be speaking with Robert Salas, formerly of the Air Force. And he's going to be talking to us about his personal experience with nuclear missile sites and unidentified flying objects, among other things. So be sure to tune in. That's Saturday night, 9 to 11 Eastern Time. It's going to be a very exciting and controversial show. So today, we have a terrific guest. He is a security star, security expert Steve Minguez from New York, who is going to be talking with us about personal security and how to stay safe. And we all need to know this stuff. It's very critical information. These are difficult times. People are desperate, and things happen, and we need to know how to stay safe, how to react, how to take care of ourselves and our families. Now, Steve, I'm just going to give you a little bit about him. He's got a very long history in law enforcement and protection and security and many different levels. He's a former member of the New York City Police Department with 27 years' experience as a Senior Firearms Instructor and member of the Intelligence Division Dignitary Protection Unit. Steve was a Senior Instructor in charge of the Emergency Service Unit for 12 years, and he developed numerous training programs that included advanced firearms training, hostage rescue, dignitary protection, counter-assault team tactics, CQB training, I don't know what that is, we're going to have to ask him, sniper training, active shooter, waterborne operations, and interagency operations. He's conducted training and established anti-terrorism deployments, and he's a New York State Firearms Instructor and holds many other certifications. He has trained numerous police and military units from around the world. So his experience is extensive, folks. We're lucky to have him today. His experience in the private sector includes personal protection and security consultant to various executives and public figures. So this is the guy we want to hear from today. And welcome, Steve. You're live on the air with Power Preppers.
Well, good afternoon, Patricia. Great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I mean, you're just such an experienced person in this whole field, and this is something that everybody needs to learn about today, wouldn't you say? I mean, these are difficult times.
Absolutely. It's an extremely important thing to touch upon and keep in your mind.
Absolutely. And you are going to be talking today about a number of things, and I really hope we have enough time to get through everything because, again, there's so many points to personal safety and personal protection, and we're going to try to cover as much as possible today. And then we're going to have you back again next week, and we're going to be talking about how to arm yourself, whether it be pepper spray or a gun or a knife. I mean, we're going to talk about all these things and what's going to be right for you in your life if you want to go in that direction. But let's start just with the basics for our audience today. We were talking earlier about being aware of your surroundings. So let's talk there. It sounds like a simple thing, but I know most of us go around in a fog in our daily lives.
Yeah, it's funny you said it. We really do. You hit the nail on the head. Essentially, being aware of your surroundings is really increasing your level of awareness to the environment that you're in. It's developing a mindset, and in speaking that, making that general statement, there's detail. There's certain detail to it, such as taking note of the of people physically, okay, and their behavior.
So not only do you have to remember, for example, where you parked your car, but you also, that's an important thing. It sounds ridiculous, but that's a simple thing that people need to know where they parked. Because in an emergency situation, you need to, if you can run to your car, you want to be able to get right to your car. But I can't tell you how many times I've parked my car in a big, huge mall parking lot or grocery store lot or whatever, and I come out with my bags and I'm in another state of mind, and I can't remember where I parked the darn car. So that's a simple thing, but it's an important thing to know.
Yes, and it's a matter of, when I say developing that mindset, it's a matter of being able to take the whole picture in, okay, of your environment. Mostly, as you said earlier, most people will just walk around in fog, get from A to B, and you have to be observant. What is the behavior of your environment? Okay.
So, like, for example, I go to the store.
It's essentially heads up. Okay. It's not a matter of being paranoid. It's just being observant. Okay. And
exactly. But
believe it or not.
Let's break that down for people, okay? Because let's say, take me as an example of, somebody who's not even paying attention. I park my car somewhere in the parking lot. I walk into the store, and my mindset is not on paying attention to who's in the store with me. My mindset is getting the groceries and getting the heck out of there. So I'm not likely to be paying attention to the guy in the trench coat on a 90-degree day. But I should be, right?
Right, and it's funny you said the guy in the fellow in the trench coat. Most people will just stick their head in the sand when they see a person like that, thinking that he's emotionally disturbed, or just blow it by mentally, just walk right by it. So these are things that, in seeing something like this, you have to question. Myself, if I saw someone at a 90-degree day wearing a trench coat, I'm going to process it a lot different than the average person.
Yes, you would.
I would be considering that the person is possibly emotionally disturbed, or an actual threat to myself and the people around me.
That's right. So let's say I go into the store, and here's the guy with the trench coat. It's 90 degrees outside. There's no reason for him to be wearing that. He could be hiding a weapon. But, again, my mindset is on my groceries, and I want to get in there and get out and get back home and then do the next bunch of tasks in front of me. But, again, you're saying pay attention. So it's not like I'm going to call the police immediately because I see this guy in a trench coat. But as you're mentioning, what should be happening, my level of awareness needs to come up and be in touch with the fact that there may be a threat in that grocery store. So
right. Well,
then the next thing is what? I want to know where all the emergency exits are, correct?
Yeah, that would be a great idea, to understand, to know your terrain, what avenues of evacuation that you would have available to you. If, God forbid, something were to happen, and you wanted to get yourself evacuated, even get yourself into a position of cover, which is something that would afford you some form of bullet-resistant protection. Again,
and all of this is just not how the average person thinks. So there's so much to this, but the first step is just, again, simple. Pay attention. Pay attention to where you park your car. Pay attention to where the emergency exits are. God forbid you have to run out one of them. Again, pay attention. So it can't be, if you're going to stay safe, it sounds like what you're saying is it cannot just be about the groceries. It's got to be something that you kind of carry in your awareness every time you're going out the door, that you have to pay attention. You cannot just be sleepy about this.
This is not something that's really difficult. It's seeing something that's out of place. You brought up the fellow with the coat. What is standing out to you? Okay, what is the what is not normal for this type of situation, okay? And not just sticking your head in the sand. Okay, now you understand it, but now you're not going to just stick your head in the sand and walk by it, so to speak. With the incident that happened, with the tragedy that happened in the World Trade Center, law enforcement agencies throughout the world have started to educate the public more and more. The expression they use now is, if you see something, say something. Okay? The Israeli government and the people of Israel have been doing this way before we were ever attacked on September 11th. Okay, and again,
yes.
it's a matter of developing a proper mindset. Okay?
And that's so important.
You know, if you're going to go into, let's say, if you really want to get into heavy detail, okay, and really pick things out. Many years ago, I was assigned to with my sniper team during an Israeli Day parade, and about 200 yards or so out, myself and my partner noticed a package. It actually was an attaché case underneath a mailbox, and we're looking through a spotting scope and binoculars, and you say, hey, wait a second. Now, you don't have to be an expert sniper or a law enforcement officer to understand that, hey, you know what, that doesn't look right. Lo and behold, we called it in, sent a response team over there, bomb squad came over, and it actually turned out to be a hoax device. So little details, little things like that, okay?
So anything is out of place. So we need to start paying attention to these things.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, just as citizens, we need to pay attention to these things. You, as a trained professional, you know what to look for, but now we need to help out. We need to do the same thing so that we can all stay safe. And the other thing I want to talk to you about with this, because you talk about awareness and awareness of your surroundings, but there's also an intuition. It's like you walk by the guy in the trench coat in the grocery store, and I think, isn't it important to also kind of check in with yourself and get a feel for what your gut is telling you about this?
Absolutely. If your gut is telling you that something wrong, 9 times out of 10 it is wrong. Okay, and go with your gut on that.
So you go by the guy in the trench coat, and your gut says, danger. Get out of there. Don't wait. Just leave. Go to a different
Absolutely.
grocery
You're going to have to leave that beautiful item that you wanted on the counter and walk away.
Right. And start all over with another grocery cart. That's enough to just make you crazy, but you'll be safe. So that's an important part of this, because I've spoken with people before, psychologists and psychiatrists, who are also experts in security, and they have recounted many stories of people who saved their own lives by listening to their intuition. And when their gut said, there's something very wrong here, danger, red alert, they got themselves out of the situation, or they didn't get into the elevator with the guy that was giving them the creeps, and they saved their own lives. So there's several methods here, not just looking at your outer surroundings, which is very important, but also checking with your inner surroundings, your inner terrain that says this is okay or this is dangerous.
Sure. And you have to make sure you don't become complacent, okay, on a higher level. Okay, back in 1989, there was an assassination of Alfred Herrhausen, who was the head of Deutsche Bank. Mm-hmm. And it was a roadside bomb. But what the opposition did, okay, was they studied his route for weeks, okay, his motorcade route. Mm-hmm. And what they did was they introduced a bicycle along that route. And they actually had set up a construction site. And the advanced team, checked the bicycle. Possible threat, possible roadside bomb. And they left that bicycle out there for a long period of time. The team actually became accustomed to the bicycle. Okay? Well, the bicycle on that day had a bag, a satchel with TNT with a shaped charge, an explosive directional charge.
Oh, boy.
Okay. And that device killed Herrhausen. Now, a cable was run in order to set the device off. A cable was run along the beneath the road, and the side of the road, to a photo cell to trip the device. A woman who was raking the leaves actually picked that up, picked the wire up. She just raked over it. She paid no attention to it. She paid it no mind. Has no idea. She's not a professional. She has no idea what she's looking at.
Right.
And that was part of the device. But again, it's just an example of complacency. Okay, so the bad guys, as we call them in law enforcement, okay, that's
the technical term, right? Bad guys.
Yes, exactly. Okay, will conduct their surveillance, okay, for whatever reason they have. So it's smart to be vigilant.
There's a lot to this, again, but what we're trying to tell people in the audience today who are listening and people listen to the podcast later is simple. It's just raise your level of awareness. And as you said, Steve, this is simple. It's not complicated. You just take note of things. You get out. You shake yourself out of the fog. You shake yourself out of complacency. And I should mention that probably today a bicycle with a bag or a satchel near it or on it would be something people would be paying attention to, which years ago, back in the 80s, that would have been noticed. But today, let's hope it is. People's awareness has changed.
And that same level of awareness could apply to a person who's leaving a supermarket, a shopping mall, with their packages and someone following them. It's a matter of heads up.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, as simple as it sounds, being aware of your surroundings and the environment that you're in.
Yes, and again, I'm not saying everybody should go out thinking they're going into battle every time they go to the grocery store, but what I am saying in total agreement with you is that there has to be a level of consciousness about what you're doing, where you're parking your car, who's nearby, and watching all of the entrances, exits, and knowing where they are in case of an emergency. These are, like you said, very simple things. But then let's go on to something else an issue you raised earlier, and that's about how people carry themselves, because it is true that we've identified in law enforcement and in psychology that there is kind of a personality or a way of behaving that attracts a perp. So somebody would think of someone, oh, here's a good victim. Here's somebody that I can easily overpower. And it's not just size, is it? It's other things.
Well, in law enforcement, we use the term professional presence. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, it's how you present yourself. It's how you carry yourself. To give you another example, okay? Some years ago, when I was training our New York City Police Department recruits, we used to show them a film, and the film was of an interview of inmates on death row who were cop killers, and the interviewer asked every one of the inmates, what was it about the police officer that enabled you to do that? And every inmate said, he let me do it. Okay?
Wow. Now, what does that mean, he let me do that?
He had his guard down. He was complacent. Okay? He wasn't carrying, he may have not been carrying himself correctly. It became routine. A police officer does car stops to give out summonses on a daily basis. Okay, thousands of car stops they'll do in their career. Okay,
mm-hmm.
After a while, initially when you first get out there, it's like any other job when you're really paying attention to detail and it's heads up, being aware, and then after a while, it becomes this inane redundancy. So that complacency can get you killed. So your guard is down. He let me do it, meaning his guard was down, and he looked like easy pickings to me. He looked. he wasn't sharp. Okay. You'll hear.
So look sharp and carry yourself in a manner that people feel like you're paying attention.
The perpetrator is going to go for the path of least resistance. Okay? Simple. You've got an 80-year-old lady with a handbag who's counting out money at a counter, and she's going to walk out of the shopping mall. Or you've got a guy who looks like an MMA fighter. Well, I guess I'm going to go after the old lady who's counting that cash.
Right.
You know? I mean,
yeah,
and again,
I mean, that's
the opposition is sizing you up. Okay, they're on the lookout.
And the other thing is, the person that is about to commit the crime against you, they are also on a mission. They've got a goal. They know what they're going to try to accomplish to do, so they're very focused. And again, that gives you some insight as to the people who are in that pool of prospective victims who are not focused. They're looking at the stuff at the mall. They're thinking about something other than where they are in that moment. And I think that also leads criminals to believe you're easy pickings, because you're not there. You're thinking about what you're going to do next or whatever. You're not focused like they are. They're focused. They know what they're going to be doing next.
Mm-hmm. And, you also have to take into consideration that if you're carrying yourself correctly and you are observant, as we were discussing earlier, you may have foiled an attempt on you without even knowing it.
Wow.
Okay? That predator could be off to the side, and the way you just carried yourself, he said to they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's go for another easy mark. Let's go for an easy mark. Forget about this one.
Right.
Okay?
So is there a particular posture? Is there, when you talk about how you carry yourself, I mean, are you talking about, I know, I'm going back to school now, stand up straight. All of those things, square your shoulders. What is the body language here? Is there anything in particular that we need to know about in the way that we do carry ourselves?
Just, again, it's kind of looking sure of yourself. Okay?
So it's more of a self-confidence.
Exactly. It's definitely a self-confidence.
And being observant and sharp. Yeah, all of these things, I guess, carry a certain energy about them. And when you're a criminal, you're assessing all of this all of the time, unless you're on, some kind of substance and you're not assessing anything. You just are going to go for trouble. But
correct.
Again, people who are making up their minds about who their next victim is going to be, they're going to take all of this into consideration in a heartbeat, and then make their move.
Right.
So all of this can happen very quickly, and that's the other thing that people forget is how fast someone can come up from behind, and their hands are full of packages, and then what do? So this can happen all very quickly.
Absolutely. And it gets to the point where it goes in the topic of how people react in a crisis situation.
Yes, and that's what we're going to move into next. So let me take a short break here, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about that, how people are going to react. Fight, flight, are you going to freeze in your tracks? What are you going to do? And if you have a question for Steve, our guest today, please call in at 646-478-0828. Again, that's 646-478-0828. Press number 1, and our fabulous call screener, Becky, will take your call and put you in the queue. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.kosmicfusion.com. micfusion.com to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Power Preppers. We are speaking with security expert today, Steve Minguez, and we are about to talk about how people react in a crisis situation. So, Steve, please give us the lowdown on all of this. I know a lot of people just panic when the crisis hits.
Yes. What they're faced with, or would be what they would possibly be faced with, is fight, flight, or paralysis, meaning basically freezing up in the situation. Okay, this is that. Those things are going to be determined based upon your character, okay, your level of conditioning to a stressful event, okay. So one of the things worth mentioning is an old expression that was used in my teachers taught me years ago, was that mental rehearsal speeds up reaction time.
Okay. So you think about things ahead of time, about what could happen and what your reaction would be? Exactly.
And you could play it over in your head and practice this. Even, people in homes. I know this will be a later topic, but in the situation of, let's say, a home invasion, okay, someone kicks open that door, a lot of people will just sit there like a deer in the headlights. Not to pat
You're
myself
absolutely
on.
right. I mean, that's kind of the scariest thing of all, is not knowing what your own reaction would be. And would you be a deer in the headlights, just standing there like an idiot when somebody kicks your door in?
Right. Now, not to pat myself on the back, but because of my conditioning and also my upbringing, okay, from my mentors, I'm going to have a different way of reacting than, let's say, another person who's never experienced anything like that, who's never been exposed to that type of stimuli. Okay?
Right.
So,
if you haven't been trained for it, then you could just not know what to do and basically freeze.
Yeah, and the more conditioned you are, the better the outcome could be. You're giving yourself more of a fighting chance. Okay?
Well, that makes perfect sense. I can tell you I saw a crime show probably 6 years ago, and in the show, these people broke in. It was a home invasion, and there was a middle-aged woman standing in the hallway, and she did the stupidest thing I could ever imagine. She ran towards the home invader, and I was like, how could anybody be so stupid? It just it made me laugh, actually, but it wasn't funny. I mean, I did feel bad for the woman, but it brings out that point and illustrates it perfectly. I mean, she did exactly the wrong thing. Rather than trying to run and get away, she just ran into the arms of the attacker. But again, it's like we don't know how we're going to react in a situation like that unless we have some forethought, some training, as you're mentioning here.
Right. Well, again, using myself as the example, I personally would rather flee to get out of the situation.
So that should be the first choice. If you can get out, get out.
Absolutely. And there's this, fighting is a last resort. And who wants to get physically injured or maimed or killed? Ideally, get yourself out of that situation. To use the expression as it were in the protection business, get yourself out of the kill zone. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to keep moving and get out of that situation. Okay? And so far as going back to the paralysis and meaning a person freezing up, to help them with that, they'd have to do some type of mental rehearsing, okay, to condition them to that stimuli.
Now, let me just ask you, there was a question somebody just wrote to me here, and they want to know, are there classes for something like this where somebody can rehearse these situations and learn what to do?
Yes, there are. There are numerous instructors throughout the United States that hold classes like in tactics and incorporate firearms with it and or tactics to put them in a situation like that. Within the New York City Police Department, with our tactics training in the firearms and tactics section, we put them in in a situation where we give them various scenarios that they're going to encounter in the street, be it a burglary or a robbery, and again, to get them acclimated to how to handle that type of a situation. Just as an example. And
it sounds like a great investment.
That's also available in the private sector.
And again, it sounds like a great investment. I mean, I'm sure that they offer these, in different ways. You can take a 2-hour class. You can take a weekly class. So it makes sense that to spend a little time, a little money, whatever it costs, to basically learn these techniques. And you call the class a class in tactics. Is that what you said it would be called?
Correct.
Okay, so people look for that class in tactics. So again, it conditions you so you would have a better reaction rather than just be the deer in the headlights waiting to get into worse trouble. You would actually have a response that's kind of programmed in instead. Right.
And, this sometimes with family members, you may meet with resistance. Some people may say, "Hey, come on, this is crazy. This is a Rambo type of a thing. This is come on, you're exaggerating. It's not going to happen to me." Mentality. Okay. You don't have to go over the top with the training either. It's essentially you have a fire extinguisher in your house to put out a fire. It's there. It's you're not thinking about it constantly, but you know how to use it. If God forbid you'd have to use it.
That's a good example. Yeah, you have what you need, and in this way, what you're talking about with this tactics class, you're basically developing a response. So you're not saying go out and buy a handgun tomorrow. You're saying get your response in a more proactive situation, because if you're in a reactive situation, you could freeze up, and that could be the end right there.
Having a discussion about it really doesn't get it over the top and get it into people's minds. As the old expression goes, I do and I understand. Mm-hmm. And when people are doing the actual task, instead of just listening to a person as myself speaking, and they're doing that hands-on, that's accomplishing that mental rehearsal.
Right, and it's training their body.
Which again is going to speed up that reaction time. They're training not only they're training their body, but more importantly, they're training their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Exactly.
And they're going to speed up their reaction time by training their mind to do that task.
So they'll take you through different scenarios in these classes. Is that what they do? Like they'll pretend you're walking down the street in New York and somebody comes up from behind and grabs you.
Well,
or you're sitting in your home at night and somebody kicks in the door. So they'll set up this as a possible scenario.
Right. Each corporation, if you will put you in different types of scenarios. Mm-hmm. Well, but again, so, it's essentially it's accomplishing the same thing, you know. So I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I agree. I recommend that to everybody, to have some tactical training. It just makes sense, so that you're not caught off. If you are caught off guard, you're going to have some kind of a response other than freezing up and again putting yourself in further danger. But I like what you're saying about make flight your first response if you can. You know, if there's a way to escape, then that's the first thing you should do. So that's something everybody should know. If there's a way out, get out. And as you mentioned quite wisely, then you're not involved in an altercation where you got to worry about a gunshot wound or a knife wound or being possibly overpowered. Your main goal is to get out of that dangerous situation. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, when we were talking about at the beginning of the show, which is know where the emergency exits are, know where your car is parked if you have to get to it. It's like be aware of all these things. But certainly, so flight would be the first option. What would be the second option for people? I'm sure it depends on the situation. But
well, if flight is your first option, my second option is sure not going to be freezing.
Yeah. So, that's right. That would be a bad one.
My second option is definitely going to be fighting back.
Okay.
And fighting back with everything you have. Okay? Mm-hmm. You are definitely engaged from this standpoint in mortal combat. I mean, granted, you could be involved in a physical altercation, and force meets force. But if you're involved in a situation where there's an imminent threat of deadly physical force, then you'll have to match that, and be prepared to do it.
Right, and that again is something a lot of people are not prepared for. But again, this type of tactical training can begin to prepare you for that, and then you can make other choices on weapons and stuff, which we're going to get into next week. But for now, I mean, it kind of reminds me, I have to go back to one of my favorite shows in the world on TV, which was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And in that show, in that series, everything could be a potential weapon. A chair, you know, a blender on the counter, an iron. Anything can be a weapon. And I think in your own home especially, you can think that way. You can use whatever is at your disposal to protect yourself.
Absolutely. Throughout our whole house, we have improvised devices.
Right. So you can improvise. You can use whatever you have to keep yourself. Well, actually, at that point, you're engaging in a battle, and so, like you said, you got to give it your all. You can't do it in a lackadaisical manner. This is really your life.
Let's go back to the parking lot at the shopping mall.
Okay.
And not getting into pepper spray or less lethal devices. A woman. I'll be a sexist. I'll make it a woman.
Okay, go ahead.
She has 9 times out of 10, she has a great tool in her purse, mm-hmm. and that would be a small can of hairspray.
Really?
Aerosol, not pump. Okay? It's alcohol based, and if you spray it in someone's eyes, it's really going to hurt. Okay? If you have a magazine and you're rolling up a magazine real tight. Okay? Mm-hmm. You could actually use it as a baton. If you strike somebody in the throat with it in the Adam's apple, they're going to have a problem on their hands. So you have keys in your hand. There are so many different things. You just have to start thinking wide.
What do I have available?
You can't become narrow-minded. Okay? You can't collapse on yourself mentally and say, I'm done. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, and you have to start thinking fast. The clock is ticking, and you do not have a lot of time. And you want to get this over with as quick as possible. And if you if that particular woman in the parking lot who uses her hairspray, she's not to stand around and wait for a reaction. That's going to buy her seconds to be able to evacuate. In dignitary protection, in protection work, we call it cover. There's an expression called cover and evacuate. Okay? Police officers, uniformed police officers, are taught to go into a threat. Gunfire goes off, they rush into the threat. That's what they're paid for, and they do a wonderful job doing it.
Yes.
But when you're doing protection work, when those shots go off, you want to be able to get out of that kill zone. You're going to cover and evacuate, move out. Same exact concept with that woman in the parking lot of the shopping mall. She has to do what she has to do, and she's going to get out of there as quick as possible. Okay?
That's great advice, and I love what you just said about the hairspray. See, I never would have thought of that, but hairspray with the alcohol in it, as you said, aerosol, not pump, is the one to use, and it can buy you the time you need to get out of there.
Absolutely.
And also, if you're in your bathroom and somebody breaks into your house, grab the hairspray. Now, see, I know what to grab in my bathroom.
There is so many things that you could utilize. You just have to be able to start thinking about it.
Yeah, so far you've mentioned the hairspray. You've mentioned also a magazine rolled up tightly, which you can hit somebody in the Adam's apple with, and also the keys, car keys. You can jab at people's eyes and stuff like that with them if you have to.
Yeah, again, you have to start thinking freely.
And you have to do it like you mean it. You can't be afraid of spraying hairspray in somebody's eyes. This is your life on the line. So you got to spray them good, and then, like you said, get the heck out of there as quickly as possible.
Right.
So these are great tips. Now, I'm going to put these together and send them out in the newsletter for next week, because these are tips that a lot of women and men also need to know. This could save your life. Your hairspray could save your life, everybody. So that's a good thing. This is a new ad campaign for hairspray.
And it's a great idea, especially in the states and the local areas where pepper spray is illegal.
Yes, exactly. Or you don't have a handgun or so. You got to get something. You got to use something.
Exactly.
No, I like this. This is and also I know some people are nervous about carrying weapons. They don't want to carry a gun because they're afraid of them, or they don't want to carry pepper spray or whatever else, which is too bad, but that's their choice. And then, so the hairspray, that's a good one.
But before it gets to that point, ideally, your level of awareness, being able to see something coming, is that's 90% of the battle right there. Okay.
Yeah, like don't
That's
get into
important.
the situation to begin with.
If you
basically.
can't, well, if you could avoid it, sometimes you can't avoid it. Okay? Let's be fair. And you're placed in a situation that's, oh geez, here I go, now I have to fight. But if you could look sort of figuratively, if you could look 100 feet in front of you instead of just 10 feet in front of you, that's going to help you out tremendously.
So you have to expand that field of vision.
Absolutely.
And just take in everything, and then check in with your gut. Pay attention to the anomalous things that you might see in your field of vision, and then make your decisions from there.
Right. And when the nerves kick in, you have that adrenaline dump. Okay. There are certain things that happen to people, both psychologically and physiologically, and it's not easy to overcome those things, such as tunnel vision. You were talking about expanding your peripheral vision.
Right.
Okay? People get tunnel vision, and because they're getting nervous, and understandably so, they're scared. Okay? So when you have that increased heart rate, and now you have that adrenaline dump, you have a mix for loss of coordination and that tunnel vision. Okay?
That's terrible.
And as we teach law enforcement in a firefight, there are certain things, as I was saying, that happen to you both psychologically and physiologically. It's tunnel vision, loss of hearing, inability of counting rounds in a gunfight. And you're going into the subconscious mode of survival. Okay? I had a friend of the family who was a jiu-jitsu expert. And Well, this is going back many years. He was with my dad in New York City, and I think there was anywhere between 4 to 5 guys who went to mug him. He reverted back to his training, and when it was over, he didn't even realize what he had done to them, and they were all on the floor. When the police showed up, he was ready to take on the police officers and fight them because he was in that mode. So you go into that automatic pilot, and you're going to revert back to what you trained yourself to do. And this is going back to what I had said earlier about mental rehearsal, speeds up reaction time, getting yourself prepared, taking those tactical courses. Okay, it all comes together.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you have to know also when it's over, and it's sometimes your body keeps going and your adrenaline keeps pumping, and it sounds like what happened to this gentleman that was highly trained in jiu-jitsu. But at least he took the perps out.
Oh, yes, he did.
Good for him. They picked on the wrong guy. They didn't assess him properly. They made a big mistake there. Hey, and some criminals make a big mistake when they attack older ladies because they've got quite a lot of stuff in that purse, and they hit them over the head with it, can knock them right out. So, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
So let's move to the next. I have so much great stuff to talk about. I know we're not going to get to all of it today, but let's introduce this topic of the active shooter situation. So first of all, tell us what that is. What is an active shooter situation?
Okay. An active shooter, well, to define an active shooter, it's essentially a gunman, or several gunmen for that matter, that deploy a firearm in a highly populated area, such as what we've seen in recent past, a movie theater, a shopping mall, a house of worship, and obviously they're there to inflict as much damage as possible,
right?
Through the utilization of firearms.
Right. So that's what the definition is. So then, what do we need to know if, God forbid, any of us gets caught in an active shooter situation? What do we do?
Well, again, I know through the whole show I've been repeating this. You're sitting in that movie theater. I know you want to enjoy that show, but again, pay attention to your surroundings. Okay? Let me give you another example.
Okay.
With our recruit police officers, okay, police officers are taught day one, before they walk into that diner to sit down and have lunch, before they walk into that store, they're to look inside that location prior to going in because something could be happening in there. They're no longer the average civilian, so they have to get into that mindset. With what's been going on in the United States right now, and unfortunately people have become reactive instead of proactive, you have to have, again, heads up. Start looking. Okay? As the old expression goes, watch your six, meaning watch your back.
Right.
So, again, it's your level of awareness. Unfortunately, if I was going to go into a location such as a movie theater, and it wouldn't be the best seat in the house, but personally I'd rather sit next to an exit, okay, right by a door, some type of an escape. Okay, so you're taking into account the behavior of people, as I mentioned. Okay?
Right.
You could even have to, even with active shooters, I would still be aware of any packages that are left in there. The fellow walks into the movie theater. You had mentioned earlier about the guy who's in a trench coat. It's 90 degrees out. Wait a second. This fellow just walked in. He's got this big knapsack on his back, and he's wearing a coat. Well, there's a possibility he could have a long arm, shoulder weapon under that coat. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
this
that's
is out of place. It's time for me to get out of there. Okay?
Right.
Now, your response is the Homeland Security is actually put together. People can look this up on their website. Okay? It's nothing super secret. Essentially, a simple plan of attack. And I really believe in all of the recommendations that I've ever given anybody, including on this show, is to go with the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Not to get complex, because there's too much to think about in a crisis situation like this. So essentially what you have is, first off, if you can evacuate, get out of there, as I said earlier, do it. If you can't, okay, you'd have to barricade yourself and hide. Okay? And again, this is really going to be dependent upon the type of terrain that you're in. What's the layout? And again, you're going to have to look. You're going to have to look around.
And tables that you can use.
Exactly. If I was inside of a schoolroom, it's going to be a lot different than me standing next to a water fountain in the middle of a shopping mall out in the open. Okay, so I'm going to have to utilize whatever I can to hide myself. Okay, or if I'm have a room to be able to barricade myself. Now, when we talk about barricading, okay, or dealing with a person who's a gunman, people have to understand the difference between the terms cover and concealment. Cover is something that affords you some form of bullet-resistant protection. Concealment will just hide you, okay, but it offers no bullet-resistant protection. A bullet can pass right through it.
Right.
People should not take for granted that don't think that concealment really can help you. I'll give you a short, as we call it, a war story.
Okay.
We had a New York City police officer many years ago who was on a subway, and a mugger pulled out a handgun, and all he had in his hands was a newspaper. What he did was my students used to laugh at this all the time, because to law enforcement it sounds funny, but it actually turned out to be a great idea. He actually took the newspaper and held it up in front of the bad guy at his gun. And what this bad guy did was he actually tried to get the gun around the newspaper to shoot the police officer.
Oh, my goodness.
It didn't register in his mind that he could shoot through the newspaper. That afforded that police officer the window of opportunity to be able to grab that gun and take control of the situation. Okay?
That's a great story. Wow, that was very creative of him.
Now, the level of cover that's being provided to you, well, it really depends upon what type of armament that you're dealing with. We're not James Bond. We're not going to say, hey, listen, this guy's got a 25 ACP cartridge, and this is going to be able to stop the bullet, and this one's not going to be able to. If I'm dealing with somebody who has a shoulder weapon, rifle, shotgun, that type of thing, I'm definitely going to want to have something substantial to be able to stop that. Okay? And as the old expression goes, something is better than nothing. Okay?
Yeah.
Whatever you can use. Lastly is fight. Okay? If you're placed in a situation where you have no other recourse but to fight back, you're going to have to do it. Okay? Whether it's rushing that person with the firearm, there's several people doing it, coming up with a quick plan of attack, and again reacting very fast to it. Okay? So again, it's evacuate, barricade and hide, and fight.
So those are the choices, and evacuate is the best one, or not be there in the first place because you suspected something was wrong. And so if that year you find yourself there, then the second thing is to evacuate, and the third, barricade and hide, cover, conceal, and then the last thing is to fight with everything you got, if that's your last resort.
Correct.
And if you look back at some of these horrible events that we've been plagued with over the last few years, those are you see the people that have survived, they barricaded themselves, or they played dead, which is another thing that people can do. They can play dead, which I guess is another way to conceal themselves, is to act like they're not a threat anymore because they've passed over to the other side.
Well,
I know a number of people survived doing that.
Well, without giving this store away, there are several schools systems throughout the United States that are practicing dealing with an active shooter situation as we speak. Okay. So again, it's about planning. It's about planning. It's about getting those kids involved, everyone involved in this situation as far as what you're going to do. Obviously, if you're going into a movie theater, not everyone's been working together to be able to combat a situation like that. Okay?
Right. You got a random group of people.
But a random group of people may start formulating a plan to do something. Okay. Now, the other thing that comes into play here is law enforcement. When they arrive, okay, what should you do? Well, let's face it. If you're not armed with a firearm, okay, what you want to do is you want to pay attention to authorities. Okay, I would get down. I would get down low if I was actually in there while law enforcement was doing an entry to take care of the situation. Okay?
Right.
Again, I would definitely want to try and stay out of the line of fire. Okay.
So getting low like that, right flat on the ground, you're less likely to get hit by something.
Well, again, this is law enforcement going in, doing a dynamic entry into the location. Okay, they're going to direct people what to do when they make their entry. Okay?
Right.
Whatever their verbal commands are, people should abide by them.
Right. So follow the directions so that you don't find yourself in an unfortunate line of fire as a victim from a law enforcement professional who may think you're the perp. So just follow directions.
You may also have a situation where you have plainclothes law enforcement / off-duty police officers inside that location that are actually going to start taking out firearms. So target identification becomes an extremely difficult task, especially when the lead is in the air, meaning the bullets are flying.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. So that's excellent advice, and I never even thought of that. But that's absolutely important that you listen and follow the directions of the authorities. And if they're saying to get down, and then you get down. You don't stand up. You don't do the opposite. You do what you're told so that you can stay safe. I also heard something else, Steve, I'll mention in terms of keeping yourself safe, and that's if somebody has a grenade, and they throw that into a crowded environment. And one of the things that was recommended, and please tell me if this is what you would agree with, is to also do that. Get down low, lie flat, because you're going to be less of a target for that the shrapnel and everything else that flies out of that grenade. Is that what you should do?
Well, I'm not a bomb tech, but I do have experience in seeing what grenades do, insofar as their blast pattern goes.
Right.
And again, I would prefer to be low. Okay? I'm not going to say that there's a 100% definite style of blast pattern that you're going to get from shrapnel. Okay, but I would like to cover my head.
Right.
Okay? I would really like to cover my vitals. I'd rather sacrifice a hand or an arm, and just cover up and get down and cover those vital areas.
Well, that's good advice too. Yes, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Minguez,
again, if God forbid a device was thrown, if you can dive yourself behind a piece of cover, you're a lot better off than just dropping to the ground. But if you have no alternative, go for it. The bomb squad has an expression: if you can see the bomb can see you.
Ooh. Well, that sent chills up my spine. So, well, again, Steve, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. We're quickly running out of time, but we've covered a lot of ground. You've given out some excellent advice and tips for people to stay safe. And you're coming back next week, so you're not off the hook yet. And we're going to be talking next week about site and residential security measures, as well as weaponry like pepper spray, some of these things that are legal in areas that you can purchase and use. So can't thank you enough for all this wonderful advice in this past hour. And everybody, please join us next week. We'll be back from 1 to 2 o'clock on Thursday for another episode of Power Preppers. And be sure to go over to supernaturalgirls.com and subscribe to the newsletter, so that you can be up on all the latest news, prepper tips, safety tips, security tips. We're also going to be doing some giveaways of pepper spray, as well as books and all kinds of exciting things. And if you're on our subscription list, you will be entered. So please go over to supernaturalgirls.com and sign up. And be sure to stay tuned also for the show this Saturday night, 9 to 11, with Robert Salas, where we talk about nuclear missiles and UFOs. It is sure to be a very exciting show. So thank you again, Steve, for all of this exciting information, this great and powerful information today. Much needed for everybody. And again, we'll be talking to you next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll be seeing you soon. Stay safe.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another terrific episode of Power Preppers with Patricia Baker.